Okay, so you guys are going to have a math review today. So not only am I going to go over a few concepts with you, then you're going to go ahead and do an online assignment. You'll be able to get your answers back right away to see how you did. And then tomorrow you will have a math test. So this is a review for that, okay? Keep watching the video so you can see all of the reviews we go over. Fifth grade, we're going to go ahead and do a review on rounding decimals, okay? So now remember, what you always want to do is figure out what you're rounding, which number you're rounding, and then you can determine your determining digit of how that will round that number. So here we have round to the nearest hundredths. So we're going to go ahead and underline the hundredths place because that's the one we know we're rounding. And then we're going to look at our determining digit, which here is a 9. And we're going to ask ourselves, is it between 0 and 4 stays the same, or 5 to 9 goes up by 1? Well, that's 5 to 9 goes up by 1. So we would round this to 0.79. Okay? Then we have this one, round to the nearest tenth. So we will underline the number that we're going to round. Use our arrow for our determining digit. We will then ask ourselves, 0, 4 stays the same, 5 to 9 goes up by 1. And we know that 3 is between 0 and 4, so it stays the same. So we are rounding this to 1.7 or 1 7/10. So rounding is making sure we're using that 0, 4 stays the same, 5 to 9 goes up by 1, and we are rounding to whichever place value, decimal place value, it is requesting. This review is on which decimal is greater. So now what you're going to want to do is when you have two numbers, you're trying to find out which one is greater, you want to make sure that you're starting with your decimal place and going to the very first digit, okay? There and there. Well, which one is greater? 3 or 0? It would be 3, so that one is greater. Then we have this one, 1.70 or 1.07, same thing. Look here, which one is greater, right? Then we have here, 3.96 or 3.69, which one is greater? This one. Let me give you a couple of more. What about okay, here you go. Well, we take a look at this first digit and they're exactly the same. So we have to take a look at our second digit and see which one is greater. So this one is greater. It's always going step by step just to make sure that you're checking each place value to see which one is greater. Okay, and now we're going to do a review on dividing decimals. So don't forget that when you're dividing with a decimal on the outside, you need to remove that decimal by moving it over, and however many place values you move it over here, you have to move it over here, and then you put your decimal place up there, and then you go ahead and divide. So 9 goes into 24, 2 times 9 is 18. I subtract, I borrow, and I would get then 6, right? 8, 9, 10, and 4, yep. And I bring down my 3, and 9 goes into 63. 7 times 9 is 63. I then have a 0, so my answer would be 27. Okay, then come over here to this side, same thing. You have to move this decimal place over and move this decimal place over. So then our decimal place would come up here and we would then go ahead and divide, okay? So don't forget to move those decimal places out of the divisor, and then however many places you move it out of the divisor, you've got to move it out of the dividend. And then you've got to move your decimal place up. Let's review perimeter. Now don't forget, perimeter is the outside of the square, rectangle, or a triangle, as well as any simple closed figure that has straight lines, that has a dimension or a length or side, okay? So with side, we have side equals 14 feet. Well, we know the perimeter is all the way around, so we have, this would be, oh, sorry, this would be P. P equals 4 times S is the equation we use. So P equals 4 times, we fill that in, 14, and then that gives us 4 times 14 is 56, and we make sure we have our unit measurement of feet. So the perimeter of the square that has a side of 14 feet is 56 feet. That would be the same as doing all 4, 14, 14, 14, and 14, and adding them all together. Then we have the perimeter of our rectangle. Now here we have our length and our width. So don't forget our equation. P equals 2 times length plus 2 times width. So we have to fill that in. P equals 2 times 7.3 plus 2 times 4.9. Now, if you wrote these over to the side and you multiplied, you would get 5 and 35 plus, nope, I'm sorry, 14. What am I doing? 14, and then 2 is 8, and then 1, and that is 4, 8, 9. And then if you added those together, you would get, did I do that right? That's a 6. Yes, thank you for finding that. Okay, and then it would be 24.4 inches, because I bring that down and I added those together. That is perimeter. When it comes to perimeter, don't forget your equation. 2 times length plus 2 times width for a rectangle, and 4 times S for a square. Let's review area. Now remember, area is the inside of the object. We're trying to find that in square, okay? Like that's if we broke it into little teeny tiny squares. So here we have side equals 5 feet. So it would be A equals S times S, because we're multiplying our two sides for what's in the area. So that would be A equals 5 times 5. A equals 25 feet. No, square feet, right, because we multiplied it. And it's the area. It's the inside square units, okay? Then we have, if we have a rectangle, we're going to do area equals length times width. So we fill that in. A equals 10 times 5. A equals 50. 50 what? Square inches, right? Because anything you do in area has to be square. Square inches, square feet, square yards, because you're doing the inside area. Okay, that was area.